welcome back to Burnout Brighter. This is episode 166, and we have Prettysmart Games here with us. But before we jump in with them, let me introduce my co-host with the most, Matt.
Did you forget my name for a second there, or was that a pregnant pause on purpose?
No, it was a pregnant... What is a pregnant pause?
Yeah, it's a term. When there's like a long pause in between
words. Is that because
words.
women are like pregnant for a long time?
I don't know where it came from.
I don't think I like this term. But
okay,
anyways,
fine.
It was on purpose.
The purpose pause.
The purpose pause.
The purpose pause. I'm good, yes. D. How are you?
I'm good.
Cool.
So, guys, super excited. We always start off like this. Me and Matt have this wonderful brother-sister love-hate relationship, I think. I think that's what that is.
Sure.
Yeah? Okay. All right. So, anyways, let me go ahead and introduce our guest, who I'm super excited took the time to come on, saw their game at Game Devs of Color. If you guys haven't checked that out, please do sign up. It's a wonderful platform uplifting different minorities so they can talk about their games. They can talk about like getting into the industry. But here we go. We have Miko with us. We have Ryako. Gosh darn it. What is wrong with me today? We're going to keep rolling, though.
Yeah, we're
just going to keep going. And we have Audrey, who is also known as Twiggly Bits, which I think is the cutest name. But we are going 100%. To call her Audrey during the interview. So unless she allows me to call her Twiggly Bits, sometimes it's super adorable.
I call her Twig very often. So you can call her Twig. Yeah. Well, she chose Audrey, but
Audrey.
Yeah, you can call me Twig if it makes you feel...
Okay, I'm gonna call you Twig. I that's such a cute little nickname. But anyways, okay, sorry. Let's jump right into it. So I was going through your website and looking at, you guys have actually been making games or been kind of in the game industry since 2011, correct?
Yeah, so I'll give a little bit of my history because Prettysmart is my little indie studio.
I love that.
And also just, I guess, to introduce our little team here for the game, The Spirit Lift, that we're talking about today. I'm the lead of that game, and Ryako is our lead music and sound designer, and Twig is our lead artist, and so she helps me with all the art direction and also does the characters and the UX. So we're super excited to come here and talk to you about this game that we're working really hard on right now. About Prettysmart, so for me, I've been in the game industry about 8 or 9 years now. I first got a PhD in computer science studying dance games. So
yes, can I just say PhD, she is a doctor. And I absolutely love when we have like women come on and they have like all these degrees and all of this education, because I know like in the game industry, like it's really hard to kind of like navigate through. You have a lot of toxic masculinity going on. And so for you to be like, yeah, I have a doctorate's degree, I'm a doctorate, and I have a video game studio, that is fucking
that's so sweet of you.
No, that is incredible. But
100%.
Keep going.
That's so sweet of you. Well, I think originally I went into grad school because I sort of was like, it is, like you said, can be a kind of a tense culture in programming and computer science. And I felt like I was not a very good programmer. And I thought if I went to grad school, it would help me be a better programmer. And I definitely learned like the things I was maybe better at or loved more than just straight up coding, which turned out to be things like designing the ideas and coming up with the user tests and like, writing papers and presenting work. Like those are all things that I learned in grad school. And I picked dance games to study because a lot of the other computer science topics on games were about first-person shooters, or like we made a game where you can shoot people with magic wands. And some of that comes from funding from the military, but some of it comes from the people that want to study games, maybe, there's definitely a lot of other really cool academic work in games, especially now that's been so many years since then. Mm-hmm. But at the time, nobody was studying dance games, really. And I thought, this is my low-hanging fruit where I could really dive in and be the person, the doctor of dance games. So sometimes that phrase will come out and people will be like, oh, that, like my friends tease me and stuff. but anyway, yeah. So from there, I ended up working at Microsoft. I worked on launching the Microsoft HoloLens, and I worked as a designer on Minecraft for a while. But kind of the whole
Love
time, I had this.
Minecraft.
I mean, yeah, who doesn't love
What's not to
Minecraft?
love about Minecraft?
Yeah.
All right.
And it's like, oh, it's also like I'm trying to keep my part short, but then you also said there'll be tangents, so
Yeah. No, don't apologize. Go ahead.
one of the coolest things about working on Minecraft was like you are a celebrity to children everywhere you
Yes.
go. Like in any situation, if somebody like nearby, like I've had kids come up to me when I had like the team member shirt on and be like, "Can we talk to you?" Like,
Aw, that's
and then
so
they'll immediately be
cute.
like, "When are you gonna add like yellow mushrooms?" Or they'll have some idea, and you're just like you're right. That's a cool idea. Have you thought about modding that? Like it's just so that's like the best part. That's probably the part I miss the
Aw.
most. It was a lovely team too, but oh, that's like so cool talking to kids about their creativity and everything. Um, and then like for Prettysmart, that was sort of like my like artistic weird indie brand. It's like games I made with my husband Dale, who doesn't like public appearances, so he's not here, but he is our lead
He's
programmer
on
at
the
Prettysmart.
website. You guys
Yeah.
can see him on
Yeah.
the website. Yeah.
Yeah, he's always like, "No, you ladies go and shine. I can sit back."
Oh, that's really sweet, though. Like
He's
that's
very sweet. Yeah.
Dale.
Yeah. Um yeah, so we did start a long time ago. Dale and I have shipped like 30 little games and apps ourselves. Nothing that would have made like a huge marketing splash or
No,
anything,
but
but
that's incredible to say that you've shipped
just thank
30
you. So
titles.
sweet.
Like, keep going.
Well,
Wow.
I mean, I think that's basically what our philosophy always was like, if we have an idea, let's just try it. Let's put it out there. Let's see if people like it, or let's learn a new skill. Another thing we do a lot of is we had like much bigger game ideas, and we would say like, okay, that's like 15 really hard systems. Could we take one of the systems and make a really small game just with that? And then now we're closer to making our big game. And so we try these strategies a lot because we are such a small team. And basically during the pandemic, I kind of felt like, really my dream is just to work on our stuff full time. And so
Right.
I was part of the great resignation. Is that what they're calling it? like everyone just being like, I don't know about this working for other people thing. Like if we can make it for ourselves. So I've been Twitch streamer and working on our game studio for like the last 2 years now, I think, full time. And the Spirit Lift is our main big game, and it will probably be a little while longer till it comes out, but we're really proud of it. And one of the things we did really early on was we thought we want to hire our contractors, our collaborators early on, and get people to see the vision and get them part of the creation process. Because in the past, because we made smaller games, we would kind of do everything with like ugly art and temp music, and then we'd be like, okay, now we know what we need, which is also a good spot to be in, and like let's go find people. But this time we thought, we really want to put an announced trailer out early. We want people to be excited about what this could be, and we want to bring in people that are going to be really talented at what they do, and really teach us like things that we could never dream of making on our own. And so that, to us, the Spirit Lift was that we were like, we have a really cool idea that we love, and we want to bring in people that we think could be really awesome here. And that's how I got Ryako and Audrey on board for this. And I always say we have like the like a team of unicorns. Like I can't believe how blessed we are. Everybody is so good at what they do, and they bring so many ideas and so much creativity in. So we just feel like super lucky that we got to have this team. And there are a few other people at this point too on the team. I think we're at like 6 or 7 people on the Spirit Lift, which is not, it's still not a lot of people to make a game of this scale, but everybody's just really a blessing. So
That's
yeah.
so sweet.
That's
And you
amazing.
can tell that like how much work and like passion you put into it. And one of the things I wanted to bring up is just do it attitude, right? And kudos to you for like walking away from something that was pretty much your like bread and butter and your sure thing to be like, I'm going to go on
Yeah.
this journey and do what I want to do, because that is very, very hard for people. It is hard for me because I am like,
Yeah.
what about the bills that I have to pay, you know? So like I just think that's really inspirational. And for anybody who's listening, like you really just have to go out there and do it. Like one of the things that you said that I thought was really important is that you put out games even though it wasn't the greatest art or it was just like temp music that anybody could grab, but you still put it out there. And that is so important because it shows like your effort and it shows like your dedication to the craft. So to be able to say like we put out 30 games, maybe they didn't make a splash, you put out 30 games. There are not a lot of people who can say they've even put out 2 or 3 games, and they've been in the industry for a really long time. So,
Yeah.
congratulations on that.
Eh,
That's incredible.
Thank you.
And I have to
Yeah.
say, like, Spirit Lift so far is looking awesome. The announcement trailer already has me hooked. You throw like roguelites
thank
and
you.
deck builders in, and I'm already there. But I'm sure we're gonna
Awesome.
dig into that a little bit more in a sec. But I'm so curious to know more about Ryako and Audrey as well. So Ryako, I'll start with you.
Yeah, please.
What was your journey that brought you to Prettysmart, and how have things been since?
Okay, so I'm a musician. I sing, rap, produce, write everything. I just do everything.
Dang.
And I decided that at the beginning of the pandemic, when during the first lockdown, you know, I thought, hey, I wanna learn how to score films. And so I thought, it'd be great if I just did it. and,
The
and
just
I was
do
like,
it attitude.
Mhm.
yeah, and it's just like, so I rescored one of my favorite films, which is Fritz Lang's Metropolis, and there's like a big poster
I
behind me.
love that movie. Oh
Yeah,
my God, it's so good.
yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
It's just one of my favorites. It's like science fiction, like silent film, and I was like, oh, I'm just going to rescore this. I'll just rescore it and just do it. And I streamed like the process of like learning how to, what I was doing and how it was going. And then I finished it, and I had like a watch party and blah 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 and released it. And then few months later, Miko uh found me somehow on Twitter.
I
And
literally was searching Twitter for composer. Like I was just like, I'm filling out the digital Rolodex. I'm going to look for anybody who's a new composer that may be good for this new project. And I saw, she's got such beautiful, like all her like profile pictures are like so gorgeous.
Yeah, they're
so like
so
the
pretty.
pink line stuff. So it's like already like, ooh, who's this person?
Yeah.
And I would always go and check out their Bandcamp, right? Because I want to hear the sound. And like we usually hire different people for different projects based on the vibe and like, is their natural vibe already good for this project? And I heard the Metropolis, and I literally like I keep saying literally, it's so lame, but I got goosebumps like all throughout my arms, and I was like, this is so perfect. It's exactly the kind of like it's her music, especially in that soundtrack is or the score is just so like melancholy and at times sinister and at times just like heartbreaking, and it just completely captured my heart. And so I just sent a cold email. I was like, would you like to make a video game soundtrack? And just to see what happened. And I'm so grateful that Ryako said, yeah, let's talk. What is this?
What is
I
this?
want to see. I want to see your Metropolis with this. Is that somewhere?
yeah, you know what? I have it. I'll send you a link to it. I have it like
Please.
as unlisted YouTube video.
Oh
Which
my God. Okay. And listen,
Yeah,
and if
it's
anybody
amazing.
messages us and is like, hey, you talked
You
so
want
much about this. We
add
want to
it on?
listen to it. Okay, cool.
Yeah, no
I am
problem.
so hooked right now because I actually did something very similar
Mhm.
in college when I was taking I think I had to, what is that program called? I don't know. It's not important.
Photoshop?
But no, no,
Premiere?
no. Well, I did
Premiere?
use Premiere to cut it, but like we were making our like own music. And what is it called? Oh my
YouTube.
God. Pro Tools.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, I
Oh,
was right.
okay.
Matt, shut up. Okay, so um and I took the scene. I actually didn't do the original. I did the anime because they redid it as an anime, and I took the scene where
Yeah.
everything's blowing up, and I put the music to "What a Wonderful World"
Nice.
to that scene, and I was just like, I don't know why I like really sweet music with really sad scenes and chaotic scenes, but I did that. So when you said you rescored the whole thing, I was like, I want to see it. So like, I'm super
Yeah.
excited. Please
I'll
send
send
me
you
the
a link.
link.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh my god.
It's basically it's just like multi-genre. I mean, there's like orchestral stuff, of course. Um, but also like there's some like a section with drum and bass.
Oh my
And I
god.
do like there's a part where I like there's like electronica, there's metal, there's and there's also like some hip hop as well.
Oh my
And
god. I'm
like
so no.
with
I'm in.
You've
Yeah.
sold me. I am
Jeez.
so excited to see
Yeah.
how you melded all
It
these together. Like
It's
yeah.
oh my
amazing. It's
god. Oh
honestly
my god.
amazing. You
It was
can
hard
hear
to
it on her Bandcamp too. If you
yeah.
don't have the
It
link, you can always go
Ah.
I
to her
yeah.
Bandcamp and it's
And I
there
think
to
you
I'm
listen
about
to.
to
watched
have
it.
all of it. That's what I'm going to be listening
Yeah.
to for the next
Oh,
like 3 days.
yeah.
Probably.
It was just basically a lot of watching it over and over again and trying to find the key moments. Because I think one of the things that happens when you know you see silent films, the way they're scored sometimes it feels like it doesn't quite work, or
Mm-hmm.
there are moments that you feel should come out. And when I first saw Metropolis, it was I think I was like really I was in my teens, and I was like, this is great, but I can tell that it's not it's dragging a little, and I need to and it's like I wish it had different music. I was like, I just wish it had different music. And so finally, when the pandemic hit, it was like, I guess I'll make something, because yeah. And then
No,
yeah,
that's dope.
that's
Because
it.
I
That's
think music with films is so important. I think one
yeah,
of my favorite films is Amelie, and I love the
yes,
score. Like it just everything fits and flows so well. Literally, I think it's probably I don't know if people would say it's a masterpiece, but I can play that and not be watching it and know exactly what's happening because the music is synced
hmm
up to the scene so well and you get that emotion and everything. I think it's incredible. I will say that because Black Panther is out, they if you guys haven't seen it,
have, you know,
it is the music like oh my god. I cry
oh,
because I know it's so well done. And I love that you put like so much emotion into this. So I'm really excited to see it.
oh,
And
thank
I'm sorry I
you.
keep going on about it
No,
because
it's okay.
we also have another guest. Super excited to introduce this guest. Twigs, what's up?
What
I
up?
love Twigs. What up? What up? I mean, we can call her Audrey too, but guys, please refer to her by her professional name, which is Twigs. She's super famous, and we're just really happy to have her here. So, Twigs, tell us, how did you get started with Pretty Smart Gamers?
Yeah, I think it's kind of like a cute little story, and it kind of shows like you can kind of network everywhere you go. So me and Miko actually met on Twitch. So I was a viewer, a humble viewer, chat member, um, and I was watching my friend, and then they rated her, and I was transfixed. This is when she was wrapping up Code Romantic 1, and I was just transfixed by everything. I remember seeing like her animate like the figures with like different like facial expressions, different eyepieces, and I was just like, you can do that. I want to do that. Like I want to do all of that with my art, and it actually inspired me to like finish my thesis at the time
Oh,
because I was
wow.
still
Oh, you
finishing
would love that. You have
school.
to tell them about your thesis project.
Please
It's
tell us
so
about the
good.
thesis project.
Oh, yeah, if you want, to cry and stuff. My thesis is called Hide. It's about a girl who's kind of gone through some stuff, and she kind of has it hard in life, and she has bullies that she has to deal with. and they end up doing something to her hair, and it's kind of a metaphor for what hair means and how she uses it. And yeah, I need to go back and visit it because it's been like 2 years.
Can
my
I send
God.
I
the link
finished
to
it.
this in the text chat, or is that weird?
Yeah, sure.
So I've
No,
already said it
absolutely.
because I think
Absolutely.
if you see the pictures of this, you'll really like love to see how
I'm
she went
excited
with the art in this game.
just because like you brought up the hair thing. It's so important in like the Black community. Like our hair is our crown, and I feel like
Oh
just
yeah.
for like a lot of minorities, and women in general, our hair is something that is so important to us, right? For some, they don't care, but um, for a lot of women, they do care. And so I can only speak from like my experience and being a Black woman and having people wanting to touch your hair and like
Yep.
invading your personal space, and then your hair not being good enough in certain situations and jobs and things like that. So I probably will cry when I read this because I'll probably be able to relate to it a lot. But I love that you took something that's so personal and I feel like I can relate to it. So
Hmm.
thank you for that. Cause I feel like when you
Yeah.
write something um, that deals with bullies and things like that, it's pulling on things that you might have had to deal with before. So it could be kind of like therapeutic, but the fact that you're willing to share that with us, I really appreciate it. So thank you.
Yeah. Of course. Yeah. I thought it was a pretty important story. And yeah, when I saw Miko, because she was in Unity, and I was trying to decide, like, am I gonna use Unity? I never did it before. I'm an artist, and a graphic designer, by training, and so um, yeah, that really kind of set things off. And I put Miko in my own little Rolodex.
Oh,
Little did she know that I don't know, like everywhere I go, I'm just like, ooh, I want to work with this person. So I'm just gonna like remember them. I'm gonna befriend them. I'm just, who knows what's gonna happen.
that's so smart. That is
Yeah.
so smart. I mean, I do that, but I don't think about it. Like as we're talking, I'm already thinking about things that I want to pull you guys into later for later projects like down the line, like legit, like that's how my brain goes.
Yes.
But
Yes. That's
I
how our
love
brain works.
yeah, thank you. That's how our brains work. But I wanted to say what's so important about that is like you never know unless you reach out to someone, right? Like so that it's
Yeah.
comes back to that just do it kind of like mentality. And I know it's hard for a lot of people. I think I tweeted something earlier because we all kind of suffer from that imposter syndrome at some point in time when we feel like we can't do anything. But like when you have that little spark where it's like, yeah, just do it. Make sure you just follow through with it. And I love that you're like, I met her on Twitch. I've met some of the most amazing. I streamed for like 2 weeks before I moved to Korea. And I met so many people and I played the dumb, it's not a dumb game. I really love the game and I say it's dumb because people are like, what? But I played this game called Unturned, which is basically like a Minecraft version of zombies because I can't stand real
Yes.
zombies. They freak me out. Okay, you know what I'm
Yep.
talking about. I streamed
Yep.
it for
I
like
do.
2 weeks and like for hours at a time. And I was absolutely terrible. But I have met some lifelong friends from that. So like again, people just reach out. Like don't feel bad. I mean, the worst you can hear is no, but that doesn't mean that like you're always going to hear no, right? So like don't let that keep you down. I love how all of you met because you all took a chance to just reach out. Like it wasn't just about networking, which a lot of people think like in the industry you have to network in order to get anywhere. You literally just reached out and was like, "Hey, I like your style. I like your stuff. Would you like to work on something?" Which is kind of networking but not in the same way. You know what I mean? So, oh, it's so nice to have all of you here and
Yeah.
just to be surrounded by creative, smart women and Matt's here and Matt can see it. So,
Hey, Matt. Yeah.
Hey,
And
hey
then
guys.
Matt's there. It's like, what?
Listen, I have to say that was one of the nicest ways that she's included me in the conversation. So I'm going to take that as a win and run with it. Because usually and we also have Matt here. So there's a vocal drop off sometimes that you can just really feel. But like seriously, like kudos to all of you for working and following your passions and to really take everything that you've done and just help move the industry forward, because I feel like there's so many of the same type of thing out here, and to have something original and different is just so exciting, and to see it backed by incredible people like yourselves, that we need much more of that in this space. So I wanted to ask, Miko, I'll start with you, because then I kind of want to hear everybody's perspective on it. But
Yeah.
how did the Spirit Lift start? Where did that idea come from? Because again,
Yeah.
I feel like there's a lot of roguelikes out there. There's a lot of deck builders. We're starting to see more of the fusion for that. We don't have many horror aspects brought into
That's
that.
right.
And it's just such a cool fusion of all of the above. Where did that come from?
Yeah, totally. I think first of all, I want to define deck building roguelike just in case, because it's fine if you don't know what that means. You don't have to know, but the reason Matt's saying it so much is it is like a subgenre that's very popular, and people that love it like really love it. So essentially, it's a strategy card game. And a deck builder means that as you play the game, you're adding and removing cards from your deck, or maybe you're upgrading and changing them. So if you think about something like Magic the Gathering, where you enter a game, you've made a deck, but like you don't change it usually during a match. This is a game where like you're doing some kind of adventure and you're updating it as you go. And then roguelike, there's a lot of really specific definitions of a roguelike, but basically it means a game that like you kind of fail a lot at. You die and you learned from that and you try it again. And it's a fair amount of randomization and things that make every run or gameplay session something that's really unique. So even if you're extremely skilled at the game, it's really fun to like throw yourself back in and see, can you handle it on this run? And for us, we had just come off of making Codermanic 1, which is a visual novel. It's a post-apocalyptic love story, and it teaches programming in C# and computer science skills. And it's a very niche, like there's an audience, but it's a pretty small audience.
Though. Romance and learning.
Yeah, that was the whole idea, and that's why the code name stuck. I was like, everyone knows, you know what? They're gonna hear Codermanic, and that's exactly what it is. So I'm just gonna keep the code name for this game. But that was a visual novel, and it's very linear, and it kind of got me thinking about like, I wonder what we could do. What genre should we take on next that would be maybe a more replayable game? And I also thought that outside of my like professional work for other companies, I hadn't really shown my systems design skills that much in our games, because we tend to make like really artistic, short story, personal stories about my life, like that kind of thing. And so I was really excited to be like, let's bite off something that's got a lot of systems, that's going to be really fun to balance, and also a genre that like I could play for like thousands of hours and already have in other people's games, something that I would feel really like comfortable with. Because I guess that's like my first like pro indie game tip is like pick a game that you can play for 1,000 hours, because you want to finish your games.
True.
Like Des was saying, like about being so kind about us finishing games, even just finishing one game is such a huge difference from finishing no games.
Yes.
You get that confidence boost. You learn the whole process about getting it into a store, about trying to market it, about building a community around it, about bug fixing it. There are many times in the process of building a game that you get dragged down because things get boring, they get tedious, you start to get depressed. Like there's all these mental hurdles to finishing. And so that was just something, with this game, I was like, maybe we should make a card game, because this is kind of like my comfort thing. If I'm just like chilling on a night, I'll put on a podcast, I'll play one of my favorite deck builders. But also, I'm a huge horror movie fan. My favorite horror movie genre is probably found footage. I've watched all of them. I've watched every found footage that you can find on YouTube that people have made in a basement. Like I've watched all the weird ones and all the popular ones. But I also just love all the classics, and The Thing, The Fly. There's so many good horror movies out there, all sorts of genres. And I started to think about like, what if we built like a deck builder like Blair Witch Project? So that was kind of the beginning. and I actually did make it on a real paper prototype. So graph paper, fake UX screens that you could move around, and real cards. And I just took some of this is one of the like lo-fi ways you can test an idea quickly before you start coding it. And I just like created some characters and thought like, okay, what these like kids are going into the woods and they're gonna fight like a Bigfoot or something, you know. So we started to play with that, and we liked it. So I thought, okay, this has something behind it. I think our next game is gonna be this like horror deck builder, and we you know, I started to build like a Unity version. I started out, I don't know how technical you guys want me to go, because it's not, if it's boring we won't go there.
It's never boring. We're a podcast about gaming, so just go as technical as you feel. You go ahead.
Okay, well, in short, I'll say that I don't do a lot of actual coding or like in C# or C++ these days, because my husband prefers to do that and I prefer to do the design. But
I need a relationship like that. That is exactly what I need. I can't
like.
I mean, this was
perfect.
a selling point for him as a husband.
Yes,
I'm not gonna lie.
yes, that is
Okay.
absolutely
And
what I
I've
want.
told
I
the
love-
story so many times. He's not gonna be embarrassed. But I like, when I met him, I was like, "You mean you finished a game project by yourself and put it on a website?"
You're like,
And
"Tell me
then
more."
and I was like,
Hot.
and then like we went somewhere, like a group of us, and I was like, "He can dance." I don't know if I'm going to find this again. A programmer that finishes his projects and wants to work with me on my projects and can dance. So that was like, you know, that was probably like,
No, that's
I knew. I knew
I
I was
need a
taking
nerd
advantage.
who can help me when my computer stuff messes up. Like my friend tells me that all the time. Like, if you marry somebody, please marry somebody who knows how to fix your computer. So
Wow. It's fair. Yeah. So, so anyways, technical stuff. A lot of people that use the Unreal Engine really like Blueprint, which is this visual scripting language where you get to move boxes and noodles around,
okay.
instead of C++. And there's reasons why you would do C++ over Blueprint, mostly performance, but you can definitely make a whole game just using these visual scripting things, and I prefer that a lot. Unity has one called Bolt, so I built the first prototype for the Spirit Lift in Bolt just to show my husband Dale like how I wanted just an idea. It's like it's not working yet, but like
Right.
imagine these are like, you know, you can move to these.
to show him.
Yeah. A lot of the early stuff is like faking it to just be like, what do you think about this? Like, does this feel like it's going in a good way? And then he definitely like was like, okay, this is working. I'm gonna start actually coding it for real now. Let's start talking about like what's the idea, what's
That's so
the name.
beautiful. I just love it. That is just so. It's so hard to find someone who likes coding and who can code for games. Like, because we were trying to make a game a while back, and like we went through like several different ones, and they were just like, "Oh yeah, I don't know if I can do this." It was just really hard. So being married to one, you're set. You are absolutely set.
Good.
It's a very romantic story.
Code romantic? It's code romantic, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a code romantic story.
There you go.
Yes.
There you go.
Oh, bringing it back around. I love you guys.
Yeah,
That's
thank
wonderful.
you. Yeah, so then I'll just tell you one more shift before we hired everybody was reimagining the game in a hotel. And it wasn't that I didn't like the forest concept, because I still do, but I think we were thinking about roguelikes and how this like the forest was sort of more open-ended. It was like, well, you're kind of walking around, you can go in any direction and you could keep
Right.
going. And why don't you just turn around and go back to your car though? And like just thinking about how the game would play out was a little complicated. And I was like, I always like to do these like gut checks and simplify, you know, where can we simplify so we can add the complexity in like, I guess the coolest parts or the most original part. And I started to think about the hotel. It's like such an obvious metaphor. It's like, we're going to go up the floors. We're going to get to the 13th floor. That's the boss. Like, you don't really have to explain too much to people. Like, it's a roguelike. You're in a haunted hotel. You're trying to get to the top, you know? And that's kind of where the idea about the elevator came out. Like, okay, what if the vehicle of a hotel is an elevator? And there's some, not a lot of cool like elevators in horror, but there's definitely some fun aspects like of the idea of a magic elevator that could take you to a totally different time, a different place that you can't really trust. It's going to take you to a floor that you don't want to go to because
Okay.
maybe something's waiting there for you. And so it started to become like a cool idea to like base the kind of the symbol of the game around.
I think that's dope.
That's really
I
cool.
don't.
you.
I'm not super into horror, so what first drew me to the game was the art style. That's how I'm drawn to all games in the beginning.
Yeah,
But
totally.
like then reading about it, I was like, I think I could do this and not be scared, and I could go to sleep at night without my light being on. So because like there's so many
Honestly,
games that freak me out, and I'm just like, even if the graphics are not like super scary, I'm just like, that's not for me. Yeah.
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 Anxiety inducing.
Yeah.
100%.
Amnesia does that for me.
Yes.
I feel like I'm running out of breath.
Yes.
Yeah. Playing Resident Evil 7 in VR was a horror story. I literally had to like sit there and I'd be staring at the VR headset being like, I can do it. I'm a grown ass adult. I can put this thing on and I'm going to go down to that stupid basement. It's going to be fine. And then I would just do something else because I couldn't talk myself into it.
Yeah,
So
I
gotcha.
can't do it. I think recently I've been playing Phasmophobia with a couple of people, but I never go in the house. And they're like, "Are you going to come in?" And I was like, "No, I'll just monitor the dots on the screen in the truck."
Gardening outside here.
Yep. I just stay in the truck the whole time.
So then I'm curious then, because then so Ryako, for yourself coming into it, what about the game? What about the Spirit Lift drew you in, and what's been your approach to the sound design and the music for it?
Really, I also like horror films. I like a lot of horror stories, like Lovecraft stuff as well. Like I'm like a fan of that, of this sort of psychological kind of horror where it's sort of where it's that dreading that you have, that feeling of dread when something's coming. It's like exciting but also scary, and it's like and I really like that. I grew up watching a lot of inappropriate horror movies. So thanks, Mom. um, yeah, yeah. So I grew up like that. That was kind of like, it's sort of like, it's in my bones. It's there. Music wise, well, I had never done any kind of music in a like a horror kind of way. It's just not what I did. I usually did like nerd rap or like electronica or just different things, and then like Metropolis, obviously. But so when Miko approached me and was like, "Hey, you wanna score a game?" and I'm like, "Sure, you want me?" Like,
Me?
I don't have experience like doing games. You know that, right? Like that's yeah. And it's like, yeah, it's like, no, it's fine, it's fine. And it's like I can help you, and it's like, okay, cool, okay, I can do this. And it was like, I'm just gonna do it. And so the more I learned about the story, because I got to have like sort of like first access to a lot of the
That's
story
right.
content.
She knows all the spoilers. Because she had to know to infuse like, I don't want to say secrets, but like themes, like she had to know about things that it had to feel like before people know the whole what will happen in the game, right? Yeah, the world building aspects.
Pretty
Yeah.
much, yeah. And it was like I was like very like I think I was very upfront with Miko. I was like, look, I make a lot of music like very emotionally. Like every producer, composer, whatever, they all have their way of working. And some people they just start out with like, drums. Some people start out with a bass. And for me, I start out with trying to find what's the emotional content of this story and what am I trying to make somebody feel. And because I approach a lot of stuff just from a very like emotional point of view, I needed to know the story, and I needed to know like, all right, what am I trying to say about these characters, or what am I trying to say about this hotel. And so when I started doing it, it was like, okay, I kind of started throwing out ideas. And I was like, what do you think of this? And it's like, how, because I was like, are you sure you want me to, like, go full on bonkers? Because I can go full on bonkers. And it's like, all right, I'm going to unleash the crazy. And once that happens, it's like, here are my ideas. Here are my ideas. You want some ideas? I've got 30 ideas, but here are the most concrete ones, and I'll show you what it's doing. And then I'll do it, and I'll be like, what do you think? And so far, it's been great because of like, oh yeah, let's do a layer, let's do a musical motif and a specialized instrument for each category of a character or something maybe. And it's like, let's do that. And like maybe for this, let's how about we just not go like a really in a really cliche way. Let's mix it up and let's like put harpsichord. I'm gonna play fake harpsichord now, and I'm just gonna mix it with some like marching drums and some horns, and here you go. And it's got a hard electronic beat too, so here. And I just sort of threw these like ideas at Miko, like hoping that she'd like them. And I was just like, because I was like, what am I doing? I'm not like, I was like, I don't work in video games. I don't know how to do this. Oh, it's like, well, I'll just do what I would like. Let's just kind of try to do something different
Mhm.
because I always think that music in a lot of games, it's just sort of an afterthought. And
It yeah. And so like you just mentioned so many things I want to like amp up, but
yeah,
I definitely want to say that like in a lot of teams the music and sound designer comes much later in the process. And we knew we wanted to have great music for the announce trailer, and that's why we talked to her so early. But I'm so glad we did because I think we have this like really unique opportunity for the music to influence other things, like influence the level design, influence the art, like
Absolutely.
what she's saying about the harpsichord. That's for our demo boss, is kind of like our most basic boss, and he is named Sporacula. He is,
Nice.
as you might imagine, a mushroom vampire. and and so she came up with this like elegant harpsichord, like sort of old-timey fancy music for him, but also with this like beat that comes in and kind of makes it more like a boss fight. And that music was used by our one of our creature artists, Too Senseless, when she was drawing the creature because she was still working on the sketches. So I thought that was so awesome that like the music was like being listened to by the artists while they're you know envisioning the final character. And we've done that a few times now. I just like another thing she mentioned was the layers. So that's another cool idea. I really feel like it's important, like to say that, like in our case, it may not be the case for everybody, but we really like hiring people that haven't done a game before because they do bring something totally different, and they're not going to say ideas that sometimes if you've already made games, and me too, I'm already thinking about the production, the performance, but you won't get like the most intriguing ideas sometimes. Like you can at least consider things that come from other places. So one of Ryako's ideas was that we have 4 deck types, which are we call focuses, but they're like different strategies in the game. And in our game, you pick 3 characters on a run, and they come with their own starting cards from their focus. So you can choose to take like the 2 physical characters in and get more like just kind of straight up like I'm bashing people with a baseball bat, kind of thing. Or you could take like the tactical people who come in with like cameras and flashlights and like detecting equipment. Um, and so Ryako had this idea about like, well, what if that first like exploring song, I'll do a different instrument for every type of focus.
Wow.
And when you pick the characters on the character select, the instrument joins the music, and you can hear like the bells for the spiritual character, and it
That's
adds like
really
this.
cool.
That's
It's so
so cool.
cool.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
I
That's
like
very
that.
different. That's really, really cool.
okay.
Yeah.
It's just
No,
like,
no, it is.
Like legit,
Look,
yeah.
I
oh,
think the
cool.
fact that you threw so many different ideas out is really, really important. For anybody who's working with someone creative, like that is the dream person you want to work with. I will just give you an example of like working with Matt and him telling me what he wanted for the logo and how hard that was to try to get our logo, because he'd be like, I just want something with some pizzazz, a little razzle dazzle, and I'm like, what does that mean?
That was like my 1950s era when I spoke exclusively like a person from 75 years ago.
But like having so much given to you so you can pick and choose, like music is so inspirational. So I love that your artists were able to like listen to it and really get that spirit. And that means that you did a phenomenal job. Like the fact that they could listen to it and create from it is incredible. So I hope that you take that with you. And like no more saying on interviews that like I've never made music for a game, because you have.
Yeah.
You are
Yeah.
you're a
Now I'm
composer.
doing
You've done
it.
it for movies, you've done it for games, you've done it for yourself. Like literally, you're like, you got it all. So
It just happened, sort of. Yeah, it's just like it feels
she's
like
like, it just kind of happened, but no,
yeah.
I'm
Well, no, it's
glad
like
it did.
people
100%.
ask me, and it's like, why are you doing that as a job? No, it's like, because it happened, and I like it, and I really love doing it, and
You have to start saying, because I'm
like,
good at what I do.
Yep.
yeah. Well, I say that, and I'm like, and by the way, I'm not bad.
Yeah.
I do that. But, it's like not to toot my own horn, but no, I don't do that. I don't do that. No. But I am like, you know what? I'm good at it. I just say, look, I'm good at it. I love doing it, and I love pushing it. I love like
Yeah.
pushing the boundary,
Yeah.
pushing the limits. You like pushing the genres, because I think that it's like too often you think of horror and then you think of like one kind of sound, a particular sound, and it's like, no, we can make this different, but it'll still work. We can make it unusual, and we can make it work, and then maybe I don't know, maybe
No,
people
I
will
think
have fun.
they'll love it.
100%.
They'll absolutely love it.
And I
Wait,
can't
Matt,
wait.
I just before you say that, please tell me that you're going to release a soundtrack with the game.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
We
No, that
have
was
to.
That was
Okay.
kind of like the conversation I had with
Okay.
Miko. I'm like, hey, look, you know what? I make music, and we could totally release like this album.
Yes, of
I'm
course.
excited.
Yes.
Okay. I love when games do that. I hate when games don't do that. So for anybody who's watching. But no, I love that. I'm super excited because like if you guys haven't seen the trailer, which I don't know how many people might have seen it, but if we can, we're going to put it at the end so you guys can get just a taste of kind of what to expect from the game and the music. I got to see it at GDC. Can we put the trailer that you guys
Of
released?
course.
Okay,
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
So you guys
Yeah.
can like get like
I'll
a
send you
taste
all
of
the
it.
files I can.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited. Okay, but Twigs, like I said, what really pulled me in, because the first thing I saw were the visuals, which I think are incredible. Listen, when I first looked, I was like, oh my god, this game is so cute. And then when I started to like really, I was like, oh my god, this game is kind of like not as cute and kind of scary, and there's some stuff in there that might freak me out. But I think like they're done really well together. I love when people take an art style that you don't expect to be in that genre and then they make it work. And I feel like you've done that, Twigs. So what I want to ask is like, what inspired you to kind of get that? Has this always been kind of your art style, or did you kind of change things up for this game?
That is a great question. I'd say a little bit of both. So when Miko and I were like in the early days, or I guess my early days of getting on the project, we talked about the art style a lot. We had so much inspiration that we loved. So Miko loves horror films, and I love horror games. And it was just kind of going through everything that like inspired us. And I just have again a Rolodex of like artists that I am really drawn to, that I see that I'm like, ooh, I want to make something from this style. And that's where Too Senseless came in, and she was our first creature designer. And our style kind of meshed really well. So that was kind of I guess it's a more of a productive way of thinking, or production way of thinking of it, where I'm like, what's something that we can easily produce, within my skill set. So that was kind of like my first thought with a lot of stuff. Like, what can we produce quickly and easily that we aren't like crying and saying like we're not good enough because we can't do X, Y, and Z. Um,
Mhm.
that was kind of like the first thought, and after like a few iterations, and also, a deadline of a trailer, we came up with kind of like our theme that we now stick to and we go back to. It's like, oh, this isn't working. How do we reel it back into our vision? So we came up with the phrase, uh, ghost punk analog magic.
Okay.
Um, there's a lot to digest in all of those words, but it makes perfect sense in my mind. I'm like, oh yeah, that's what we're making. So we took like all the things that we were inspired by, on all of our mood boards. Like if you look at our mood boards, we have just a ton. But we had to really limit it because I love games that have really clear and strong art direction. Like doesn't matter what the art style is, as long as it's like, oh, that is the style.
Mhm.
Yes.
I see it, I'm like, that's the game. I love that. And so yeah, now we go back to ghost punk analog magic
I think it's
to
great.
keep us focused. Yeah, so that's kind of where the art kind of ended up. It's kind of funny because I don't have the most experience in games, but I have a little bit, and realizing how much art is needed is very daunting.
Oh yeah.
Um, so that's why I said that a lot of our decisions, it was kind of based on what can we do as the skills that we have on this team, what can we do well, and what can we do
Mhm.
easily that's not going to make us
Tear your
cry,
hair out.
or
Yeah.
yeah, or make us finish the game in 10, 20 years instead of, you know,
Yeah.
yeah, we joke about that all the time. Like me and Miko have that conversation like
When I have to
monthly,
be the bad
weekly, because
guy.
I'm like, oh, what if we do this? And it's like, do we want to release the game ever, or do we want to release it in like 20 years?
You gotta have that
So
person who keeps you grounded. Like you have like the dream, because I feel like creative people like will get in that like spiral, and we're like, well, we can add this and we can do this and we can like
yeah,
just change some stuff here. And it's like, look, we have a deadline. So
yep,
unless those things can fit in the deadline, then we can't do that.
yeah,
Because I've
and
worked in the
that's
game industry with people, and like they keep adding
Yeah.
stuff and it keeps getting pushed, and you're like, oh
mhm,
my god. But no, I think the art is great. I love the color palette as well. That's also what kind of pulled me towards the game, because it has a lot of my favorite colors in it. And so
oh,
I was just like, oh,
oh,
this is like, yeah, like even though it's dark, okay, this may be the wrong, um, I think Galaxy, sorry, I think Galaxy colors, when I saw the art before, like a lot of purples and blues and like those kind of hues,
mhm,
and I was just like, yeah, no, this could be very creepy if you did it in the right way. And you guys have, like, it's so incredible, and you guys are going to get to see, all the listeners are going to get to see the art at the end. We're going to add all that. But I think everything that you've like, Miko, the team that you've pulled together, and of course we didn't get to like speak to everyone, but it shows in your work. It shows in your launch trailer. It shows how much work and effort that you guys have put into it. Like, I don't know if this would be like your passion project, but it feels like it's your passion project, and the people that you've brought in have also kind of made it their passion project. And I think it's great because it's, you guys aren't just like another cog in the wheel working for like a studio. You actually have like invested yourselves in this, and I think that's very, very important. And another thing that I think is really important for anybody who decides to start like a company or a studio is make sure that the people you're working with are heard, and make sure that they feel respected and that their ideas are something that you value, because nobody likes working for a company where like you just feel like you're doing the same thing and nobody's listening to you. So you guys have great teamwork, and I can tell when you're talking, you're like, yeah, I talked to her, and then we talked about this, and then we're like, does this work or does this work? And like you really respect each other's ideas and crafts, and I think that is really going to show in the end product.
Yeah, I think Twigs is amazing. Oh my gosh, I freaking
Yeah.
died when I saw the character designs. I was like, "Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh."
Yeah, we'll see
Oh,
if we can
the
get you some of the
characters.
latest, which we haven't revealed yet, but I think we'll
Oh my
see
god,
if Twig will let me. Exclusives.
Uh-oh.
Um,
Yeah.
like so Twigs she's also the UX lead, and I'm good at the functional UX, but I'm not the greatest artist, and I wanted somebody who was really strong in graphic design and colors, as you mentioned, and really could push it farther than I could. And so, as a UX lead, she also has to work with me on all the screens. And roguelikes typically there's just like 50,000 little icons everywhere, and everyone's like, "Well, I like that because I need all my information," and that's true. But I think we've really been interested in how can we take like ghost punk analog magic, give it a flavor. You still have your information, but it doesn't have to be 1,000 colors. Maybe it can be like, more
Yeah.
cohesive, more like you said, like a thought, a cohesive vision. And so Twig being like the art lead, she has like such an important job because she's not only doing her work, she's helping Two Senseless and Allison Kelly, who did our creature work, and Leah, who's doing our 3D modeling now. She's guiding all of them to make sure that the work they're doing is the right type of, it gets really granular. It's like line weight and how many little sketchy
Yeah.
lines are on in the fur of our wolf shopkeeper, like it gets that specific. And um, I'm just feel really excited to see them all working together on things too. Because I a lot of times I do have to be the bad guy and be like, okay, you can have this, but you cannot have that. cut it for now. Leave it on the floor for now. But I love seeing them all work together. They have a really great time. So
Shout out to
Aw.
Allison Kelly.
Yeah, Allison's great
yeah,
too.
Yeah,
Yeah, for
I
anybody who
yeah.
wasn't on, let's just give them a shout out too, because I love that, because it's like it
yes,
is a whole like family. So if you could just run through the names of some of the people who couldn't be
yeah.
here today. Yeah.
Yeah, so Dale is our lead programmer, and I of course, like, I mean, I'm biased, but I think he's a superhero programmer. This game is not this is a big game for one programmer, and he is doing it all. And he's also like, one of the things he's really passionate about is working with creatives. Like, he will always say that, like, if he sees there's a pain point, he'll start working on a tool so that we're not suffering as much and we can get our stuff
Oh,
in the
I
That's
game
love
awesome.
faster
that.
Great.
and
Yeah.
easier. So he's really experienced at that tool set as well, and we have to do that because we're so small.
Mhm.
And then Two Senseless, as we mentioned, the creatures that you loved in the trailer were from
Mhm.
her. So that cute little doll that has the
Yeah.
scary mouth, and the little, we call it a shroom cake. It looks like a cupcake mushroom. Those are all her. She's just this incredibly like genius level creature designer. I mean, and Alison Kelly came in recently to help us with some more characters, more creatures. So we'll probably send you some gifs of that.
Woo! I'm excited.
Most notably, our shopkeeper Dorian the wolf, which Ryako also made a really like seductive, like violin song for the
Oh,
shop.
okay.
All
So
right.
we're really excited about his character, and I feel like the shopkeeper is always like a really important character
Yeah, no,
in
they
Yeah.
this kind
are.
of game. So we wanted him to feel very like menacing. Like, is he, it's like, he's not really a friend, he's not really a foe. Like, can you trust him?
Mhm.
That kind of feeling. Um, and then we have um, Leah, who is doing our 3D art for the hallways. So when the demo comes out, we'll have all new footage and everything. But she's just been doing an incredible, really incredible job imagining the personality of the hotel. And finally, we have
So
Tracy, who is
fast.
our social media manager. And you cannot forget your social media manager. I feel so blessed to have Tracy helping us with that, because it takes such a burden off of me to know that she's out there
Oh
talking to
yeah.
people, that she's like thinking about what's the latest thing that people should be doing on different channels. And
Mhm.
she's just so supportive of what we do. and
I
highlighting
think
our
she's the
work.
first
So.
person I spoke to, and then I spoke to you because I literally messaged everybody who was part of the game at GDC. I was like, "Hi, I really like your game. Let's be friends. Let's be friends. Let's be friends." Yeah. So I'm really
Remember
glad.
that?
Yeah.
I
yeah.
was like, hey, I think you should talk to Miko. She's
Yeah,
so sweet.
they all said that. They were all like, I think you should. And I was like, all right, that's what I'll do then. So thank you for coming on. We're rounding up on the hour. But before we go, I'm going to ask a question to all of you, give you a moment to like think about it. Since we do talk about mental health on our gaming podcast, which is really important to us, we kind of like to ask our guests, what's a game that's ever gotten you through a tough time, or a movie or a book? So the first person I'm going to throw it to, of course, is Miko. I want to know, is there a game, because I could tell you've been into games before and you kind of like, no, obviously you're into games, you make them. But has there ever been a game that's like gotten you through like a tough time? And I know a lot of people bring up the pandemic. For me, I always throw out the example of Streets of Rage 2 specifically. Like whenever I was having a hard time at school or stress or anxiety, I would just come home and beat the shit out of people in this game because that's what that game is about. And
Nice.
I love it. So I still do it today when I get stressed out, and I just like, I love playing Blaze, a powerful like woman who just goes there and kicks a lot of ass. Like, as my favorite
Wow.
type of game. If you make a game with a chick who can just beat the shit out of everybody, I will pay money for it. Okay, because I can't do that in real life. I will pay money for it. But okay, sorry. Yeah.
I love that this is one of your questions. I feel like lots of games have helped me with mental health over the years, and I'm really passionate about it as well. I think you probably, I'll put as my honorable mentions first and then my big one. So the honorable mentions, I bet you have heard a lot of people say Spiritfarer.
Yes.
That game is so beautiful, and that was kind of like my 2020 like let's make it through this year game. It was just incredibly cathartic. And weirdly around that time I got into Beetlejuice the musical, which is also like a like everyone's gonna die, what's a funny way to talk about it, and it's got like these like slapstick moments, but it really is it is still a show about grief and death. So those are my 2020 honorable mentions. But the game I really want to talk about is Persona 3, which
Oh,
is
Matt's gonna love you. He
Go
is
on.
a huge
Matt,
Persona
you
fan.
and I are buddies.
Yeah, we're
Okay.
buddies.
All right. Persona 3 is by far like probably my top in the top 3 of my games of all time. And Persona 4 and 5 are also really, really good. They're great games, amazing UX, amazing characters, amazing everything. But for me, Persona 3 is very special because I like the story the best. And it has this story about essentially accepting the inevitability of like our time on this earth ending. And what do you do when you know it's gonna happen? And it was also like the first time I had really seen deeply in a game um, the way that characters could grow, because in this game and in the other Persona games you live with these characters for a whole year and you feel like they're real, because it's like, oh, I want to go to the dungeon tonight, one of them will be like, I'm studying for finals, I'm not going with you know. Or like one of them's like in a bad mood because something happened that embarrassed him and last week, and so you just really felt the arc and the way that people changed, even the way they talk in battle changes. They start off being like, oh, I hope I can make this shot, and then by the end of it they're like, I'll never lose because my friends matter or something. I mean, it just is like, it gives me goosebumps to even think about right now. For Matt's benefit, I'm just gonna say Chihiro and Junpei, that was a big deal to me. That was like, I cried. So yeah.
I'm
I've only
completely with
played
you.
one of them. I don't know which one I played.
You played 4.
I played 4.
You played
I
some
like
of
the
4.
game. I feel so bad because I like the game. I just don't like the dungeons because they seem like very monotonous and like the same. Like it's the same thing.
They can be.
Yeah.
It is an intense. It is not a game that everyone will like. It is an intense game because it's so much at once. It's a high school sim plus the dungeon crawler,
Yep.
and it's actually like a time management game. Like one of the most
Yes.
fun things is like, can I get everyone to be my level 10 friend by the time the year ends? So like you're managing all this stuff like wildly. But like yeah, Persona 4, people sometimes say it's like the Scooby-Doo plot. Like
Pretty much.
Persona 3 is like this epic saga, and then like Persona 4 is like a Scooby-Doo plot, and Persona 5 is like kill everything, screw the screw capitalism, I
Yeah.
guess. Like just like totally wild,
Yep.
unhinged.
I might play
So,
that one. That one might be cool. I do like the story aspect. I like the high school stuff. I just like the dungeons. I just get so bored.
I
Well,
totally get that. Yeah.
also with 4, they're procedurally generated for the most part, so it really was just the same thing over and over again. 5 is on Game Pass D and has like crafted dungeons, so that might not bother you as
Okay.
much as it
Yeah.
did with
Might
4.
It's
help.
true. There's more story in the dungeons
Yeah.
of 5. Yeah.
Okay, then I might do that. Yeah, because it was just like going down the same hall, and I was hoping like each floor would be different, but they're all the same, and I was, fuck, and I just got bored. I put in the amount of time. Matt was like, play it for like 10 or 20 hours, and
10, I think it
put
was.
10 hours. I put in 10 hours, and I was like, okay, I'm done. But no, I will try 5. I do have Game Pass. All right, so now, Ryaku, what is a genre? Either it could be a game or a movie or like a soundtrack that's gotten you through like a really tough
Uh, oh, now I should have prepared.
time.
All right. Oh, I know. Soundtracks. Okay, I didn't know that I wasn't aware of this, but apparently like all my life I've just listened and really connected to soundtracks from like scores from films. And um you know how like that whole like some people get goosebumps, when they hear something. For me it's a different feeling completely. It's almost like I lose my breath, and it's like
Mm.
a sense of awe is coming over me. And it's really, I know it's like a really weird thing to say, but
No.
It's not.
okay, it feels weird now.
Mm.
And it's like I thought everybody was like that. Like I was like, oh, isn't everyone like this? And it's like, no. And it's like, what do you mean? Um, so I really love film scores. Um, the first few that I fell in love with was when I was really, really young, like Terminator 2 and
Mm.
Dune, the David
Mm.
Lynch Dune. And then later on, I think the thing that I kept listening to like over and over again was Hans Zimmer's Inception score, because I that was like, I don't know, it would like make me like cry. And it's not like you want to be sad, it's more like you want that kind of catharsis.
Hmm.
And so it's like that that's one of those things that I would just listen to that over and over again. And I would also, as far as movies, I would watch Gattaca a lot, because the character, I mean, like, if you haven't seen it, I'm really sorry, I'm gonna spoil it for you. Like, all right, so because the character is played by Ethan Hawke, and basically he wants so badly to go to fucking space. All right, he just wants it, and unfortunately, he's not like genetically engineered to do so. He was basically born naturally. He didn't
Yeah.
have any enhancements. He didn't have anything, but he wanted it so badly, and he was so smart that, in the end, it's like he does achieve his goal. But it's at just that kind of there's that determination. And even though you're not born into this, even though you didn't have like the sort of help, the support, anything like that, you can still sort of achieve something. And I think that was really important to me, because like I don't have a musical education, like, at all. I'm not like that. I'm self-taught, and everything I do is just like, it's cuz I learned how to do it.
Hmm.
And it's like you always want to hope that if you're in that kind of situation, you always hope that you're going to end up being successful in some kind of way, even though you don't have you didn't have all of that education, all of that support. It's like you're always hopeful, and I really like that. I really like things that give us hope.
I love that.
It's
And I
amazing.
love that that was your movie because I think you've proven, not just the movie proved that, like, no matter where you are, even if everybody's telling you you can't do it or you're not good enough, because that's kind of like what I got from that movie when I was watching it.
Hmm.
Um, you've made it, like, and you're still going to keep growing, but like you were doing something that you set out to do. You're doing things that you didn't think you could do, things that
No.
you didn't even imagine you'd be doing, and you're being successful at them, and that's absolutely incredible. So congratulations to you
Thanks. Like,
on
you
that.
don't want to know what my last normal job was? I was
Start.
working in housekeeping in a five-star hotel. I cleaned rooms, I cleaned toilets, I cleaned up vomit, everything, everything. I and that was my last normal job. And I took it because I'm like, I need money.
Hmm.
It was when I was here and I didn't know how to speak the language very well and I needed to make money and it's like, I'll do this. And I did it. And it was like, I was really glad for it because it taught me a lot about hard work
Hmm.
and how important it is to how important it is to put yourself in uncomfortable situations so that you can
Mm.
grow.
Well
Yeah,
said.
that's a really good
Yeah.
lesson.
Well said.
And
Twigs.
also, like,
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
sorry, I just want to add on to that. Like, I think that was so important that you shared that because I think a lot of times people look at people making things like games or they're authors or they're, making films on YouTube. And like sometimes it's not as glamorous or as profitable as you
Hmm.
think. Like the people you love, it doesn't, they're not all millionaires, like
Hmm.
there's no shame in people that have like a day job in order to support their creative passion. There's no shame in having done it to a point where you could step away for a while.
Hmm.
Like when you're creative, you're just, you're trying to make your life the way that you want it to be, right? You want to
Yep.
make the things that you are passionate about. And I think that's really great that you highlighted that because we should be normalizing that. Like you shouldn't be like, oh, that person's they say they're an author, but they work at a grocery store. It's like they're still an author.
Yep.
Like,
Right.
it's
Absolutely.
okay.
It's
Like
like
you don't have to tie it into money all the time.
exactly. It's like there's like this brain itch that you just need to scratch, regardless of, again, if you have to do whatever you need to do to help you fulfill those goals. If it is a 9 to 5, if it is whatever it can be, it's like you just need to do it. And if it brings you joy, then at the end of the day, that is the most important thing. If you can walk away from something being like, I accomplished what I set out to do with this, then that's a win.
Absolutely. Those are all like really important points. Um, that sounded so like I was like throwing you guys like, oh yeah, but anyways, but I wasn't. Those are very important points. I'm just like Twigs. Twigs,
Yeah, you
tell
gotta
us.
get back to
I'm ready.
Twig.
I mean,
No
Twigs. I'm
pressure.
ready. I'm ready. No pressure, Twigs.
I
No
know
pressure.
y'all had like such amazing things, and I was like, what did I do over the pandemic? Okay, so to just straight up answer your first question, I watch a lot of games. Like I like more than I play them, so that's why I'm always on Twitch. Um, but I love Metal Gear Solid series, so
Nice.
that was my go-to comfort because I kind of grew up with that with my brother. So I just went straight to comfort, just rewatching playthroughs and streamers play the shenanigans that is Hideo Kojima. So, um, but yeah, but then to kind of play off of the topics we were hitting at, especially during the pandemic, I and before, so um, the reason why I went back to art, it's a long story, but starting from like or being in like just regular jobs, I knew I needed to go back to art when I was working at a call center and I just like illustrated an entire kids book like while on calls, uh,
Mm.
telling people about their late bills and all this stuff, and I like hated my life. But I was just like just drawing, and then coworkers were like, "Oh, hey, you do art? Can you do this and that?" I'm like, "Hell yeah, I can." You know. So that kind of led me to quit that job, I know it's scary. I was living with my mom at the time. Um, so I would leave the house as if I was getting ready to go to work. I would get ready, get dressed, go to work. But what was doing was going to coffee shops
And
and
drawing.
teaching myself how to digitally draw because that was like a hurdle I haven't done yet. So I got like a cheap tablet. It was like the Wacom, it was like the $70 one.
Mm-hmm.
No screen. It was small. It was portable. It was great. And I taught myself how to digitally paint and use Photoshop and all of that. So I would do that, you know, you know, uh, 5 days a week, 8 hours a day,
Oh my
instead
god, I'm
of
so proud of
answering
you.
calls.
And it's so
Uh,
hard to just pick up a skill and like push yourself. Because I mean, I draw too, but like that's dedication. And not to say that nobody else here has been dedicated, because you've all been super dedicated. But like, I understand the artist struggle and like drawing
mhm.
and just like being like, I can't fucking get the hands to look like hands and
Yep.
things like that. Like, I get it. So, wow, that's incredible. The fact that like, not that you like didn't tell your mom the truth. Like, I mean, you should tell your mom the truth if you want to,
She
whatever.
eventually
Yeah.
found out when I was like, "Hey, mom,
This is not me
bills."
pushing out that
Um,
like lie to your parents, kids. No, that's not what I'm saying.
Lie to your parents, kids.
it was
But
not a
you
good financial decision at the time,
no, but
but
look where you okay, see, like, so those are
and now I'm
short-term
here.
things, yeah. But when you think
Yeah.
about in the long run, like, and you think about your life and where you want your life to be, like, that's really, really important. People get stuck, and I've gotten stuck in like when I was teaching in Korea, being in a place just so you can pay bills versus doing something that you really, really enjoy. And so the fact that you were able, like I said earlier, like stepping away from something that's stable, um, and like working on something that you don't know if it's going to pan out the way it is such a brave thing to do. So like you've all done that. And I think that's absolutely incredible, super fucking inspirational. And I just want our listeners to know, like, I'm not telling you to quit your job, but what I
I
am
might be.
saying,
No, I'm just
what
kidding.
I am saying is that like once you feel like there's that point in you where you're like, I can't do this anymore. And what I really want to do is that start making steps to get to that point. That is so important.
Mhm.
Like, I know, like, that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying like, yeah, put in your 2 weeks today and just go do it. No, I'm just saying take whatever time you need to get to that point so that you can be doing what you really want to do. Because you only have this one life that we know of,
Yes.
and you want to be happy in it. So try your best to do what makes you happy, right? But if working at your 9 to 5 makes you happy, then stay. But if it's not making you happy, don't let that be the rest of your life,
Mhm.
please. But okay,
I love.
I
I didn't know we had the same philosophies in life, but now I
yeah,
do.
we're
I'm
gonna
excited.
be
Love it.
besties.
I see it
Listen.
already. Yeah.
But I just want to thank you all so much for coming on. I know like you're in different time zones, so I really, really appreciate you taking the time to come out to our show and just talk about your experience and talk about this like amazing game that you're creating. Before we go, if people want to find out more about the studio, about the game, about you personally, if somebody's looking to hire a musician or somebody's looking to hire an artist, where I'm going to start with Ryoko. Not post, but draw. I'm like so emotional right now. Like I feel like I'm gonna cry because I'm just really, really.
Just take
It's
a moment. It's okay.
I got
yeah.
you.
We've
If people
never.
wanted to see and hear
Okay,
more
thank you,
from you, if they
thank
wanted to
you.
find you personally and learn more about the studio, where could they do so? Ryako, I'll start with you.
Oh, okay, you can I'm on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook as Ryako Music. You can email me ryako@ryakomusic.com. It's really easy to remember. You can just find me. You'll be able to find me. I
The
mean, if
band
Miko can,
camp.
yeah,
We'll put
Bandcamp,
all that stuff down below
Bandcamp.
too.
Yeah. So if Miko can find me, then I think you can find
Yeah.
me. Like,
There you go. That will all be in the description below. Audrey, what about yourself?
Oh, you're gonna make me cry. Okay. I I'll be honest. I'm pretty busy, so I'm not looking to work anymore. But you can follow me, and I just love meeting people. So My art you can find at Audrey_twig on Instagram. Or, shoot me a message on Discord, Twiggly Bits. That's my name upon all the things. So if you see me on
That's so
Twitch, stuff
brave
like
that
that,
you're gonna give your
just say,
Discord.
I mean, it's probably hard, but
Oh.
if we have shared Discords, like if I'm in this Discord, you might find my name. So shoot me a message there.
There you go. What about yourself, Miko?
Yeah, so you can find out more about all our games at prettysmartgames.com. Thespiritlift.com is where you can find the trailer, and I'll give you all the link for our Steam coming soon page. One of the best things you can do for indies is wishlist because it changes the algorithm. It's really, really helpful for us, and it helps Valve know kind of like who to keep an eye on. So that would be really great. And all our social media is on there. Myself, I'm Dr. Mikachu on Twitter and Twitch. And every week, every Thursday, I game dev live on Twitch. And I'm actually usually making the Spirit Lift. So if you're super curious and you want to see me like animating things that Twig has made or building levels and stuff, you can learn more about game dev and talk about your projects and stuff too. And then one last thing that's not related to this, we just, me and my friend Liz just launched our first podcast. It's called,
Yay!
it's called The Hot Baddies Club.
Nice.
And Ryako wrote our theme song, and it is really fun. The theme song is so good. But it is me and my friend Liz talking about fictional villains we have crushes on.
Nice.
Yeah. So you can find out more about that at hotbaddies.club.
There you
We
go.
have all of that stuff
Nice.
at the bottom.
Nice.
So, like, for all of our lazy people out there, like me, all you gotta do is click.
Yep. Just
So
scroll.
make sure
scroll
you
down.
look at the bottom. Just scroll
And
down, and it's
Click.
all
That's
gonna
it.
be there.
I have a
right?
question. Is anyone going to Super Mag in January?
Oh yeah, we gotta shout that out.
I'm
Super
on
Mag.
main stage.
That's
yeah.
right.
That's incredible. Congratulations.
That is so
Thank you.
awesome.
I'm on main stage. If you're gonna be there, like, please find me and like say hello. And I want to meet people. And I'm making I'll be there performing on I think Thursday night. So yeah, but I'll be there
Incredible.
for the whole convention. So
All right,
Ah.
guys. Well, you heard it here first.
That's
Go
amazing.
check
Destiny,
her
before
out.
you close it out, I just want to say
Yeah.
real quick, thank you all for coming on. You're all deeply amazing people, and I'm just so glad to have been able to hang out with you all, and I hope you'll come back and join us in the future.
Yes.
I'm very excited for the
We'd
Spirit
love
Lift,
to.
and it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. This is awesome.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And Matt, I think you closed it out pretty well. So just echoing what he's saying, thank you again for coming on. You can always come back when you're ready to release the game, when you're ready to release the demo. Please, we want people to play the game. We want to push it out there to as many
Thank
people
you.
who will. So that's going to be it for us, guys. Thank you for tuning in. As always, we at Burnout Brighter absolutely love you. Do not forget to check out our other podcast over at Level 1 Gaming, which we drop every other week, called Bonus Level, where it's just complete shenanigans and usually a shit show. But I mean, like, that's what people come for. So love you. Subscribe, write something, comment something, say something. We want to talk to you, even though I'm really bad at that because I noticed people were commenting on Bonus Level and like it was 6 months ago and I didn't say anything until like last night. But I promise I'm going to get better. But anyways, we will see you on the next episode. Bye.
Peace.